Catherine Viet is here today with the papers as well. Very serious in the papers, of course, today. The big news is suspension of the Syrian peace talks that we've been talking about all morning.
And that's right. It's the front page story of the Daily Star. That's Lebanon's English language daily. And certainly not surprising, as the country is home to a massive number of Syrian refugees. In fact, 1 in 5 people in Lebanon is a Syrian refugee. So the paper is reporting there that talks broke down after Russian airstrikes helped the Syrian army advance on Aleppo. Britain's The Independent has a rather scathing editorial asking what hope is there for progress in Syria when Assad uses these negotiations as cover for a brutal offensive in Aleppo. And it adds that the bitter truth about these peace talks is that even if all the parties manage to agree, the civil war won't be stopped and it might even intensify. It says the reason is because of the bitter conflict between Shias, represented by the Assad regime and its Iranian allies, and the Sunnis, whose most violent radical wing is the Islamic State group. And it says that striking a deal here is a bit like some optimist trying to reunify East and West Germany at the height of the Cold War. You might salute the attempt, but you wouldn't bet money on it. Still, the editorial goes on to say that that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep trying. Arab News, that's a Saudi Arabian English language paper, their columnist is asking, is there no light at the end of this tunnel? Says the only way to solve the crisis is for Syrians to decide together. UN mediators and other negotiators only muddy the water, and that President Bashar al-Assad has proved himself a bloodthirsty, power-hungry man and has no place in Syria's future.
Now, even as the peace talks on Syria broke down, another conference is getting underway. This one, though, aimed at raising money for Syrian refugees.
Indeed. There's a donor conference going on right now, and world leaders are hoping to raise around $9 billion. And they say this money would be used towards work and education opportunities for Syrians that are in Lebanon, Turkey, and Jordan. The article goes on to report that officials believe that refugees have to be offered the possibility of a better life, either inside the camps or outside, or they may fall prey to extremist ideology or decide to continue their journey to Europe. The New York Times, sort of following up on this theme, has done a sort of slideshow article together about the migrant crisis. It's entitled "The Migrant Crisis, No End in Sight." Definitely worth a look on their website. Hits home with some rather disturbing figures, saying that since the start of the year, 67,000 migrants have arrived. That's compared to just 5,000 in the same period a year ago. So far, 60 children have died making the journey, and at least 10,000 unaccompanied minors have disappeared in Europe. And the paper there is quoting Interpol.
Now, you found a piece as well about the Bard for refugees, who apparently is here in France.
Right. The Guardian is reporting that actors from Shakespeare's Globe came here and put on a production of Hamlet for refugees in the infamous camp in Calais known as the Jungle. And the performers said that Hamlet actually was a perfect play to put on because it's relatable. Hamlet's a young and depressed, frustrated man who's between life and death, unsure what to do and struggling to make a decision.
OK, we're going to go to the US now for some different news. The papers are reporting as well that even though Hillary Clinton eked out a bit of a win in Iowa, she should not breathe a big sigh of relief.
That's right. The New York Times, well, the press has been conducting a sort of post-mortem on those caucuses and her performance. And the New York Times is saying that really she should have trounced Bernie Sanders. Says the paper says the problem is that elections are about the future and Clinton is about the past, that she's forever stressing her experience. And while you would think that would be a good thing, it can come across like she's collecting an IOU. And it's the language of drudgery and duty rather than inspiration, according to the Times. The Washington Post also on this theme, why Democrats can't decide between Bernie and Clinton. That's a question the paper's trying to answer. Says that Clinton believes in change through incremental steps and Sanders is looking for a revolution, and both those ideas sort of appeal to the Democrats. They sort of believe that in order for the incremental steps to take place, that big money needs to leave politics, and that's what Bernie's message has been all along. And finally, we have a cartoon from the Washington Post. And I think this is sort of funny and maybe helps a little bit, about the debate here. It's titled How the News Media Portrays the Democratic Presidential Candidates. And Bernie is a bright, shiny unicorn, and poor Clinton is a tired old nag plodding along.
Poor old Hillary. I don't think she'd be approving of that cartoon in the Washington Post very much. Thank you very much, Catherine, with the papers. On France 24, we're going to go back to that donor conference that Catherine was mentioning just a moment ago in the next half hour here on France 24. We're going to have a guest with me here on set to discuss it, and in focus as well in the next half an hour. We're going to be following the plight today of Syrian refugees in Lebanon. Now, there, 1 in 5 people are Syrian, in fact. Hundreds of thousands forced into hiding, unable to work or travel. Their children being born stateless. Special report, it comes up for you in the next half an hour, so stay with us.